Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Steve, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Nebraska Open Meetings Act is placed on the west wall of the library over there. Roll call. Rich?
Here.
Rex?
Present.
Present. Steve?
Present.
Kim? Present. Frank?
Present.
We'll do the review of the norms. Rich, would you start, please?
Okay. Norms. Listening. We will listen to understand by using eye contact, not interrupting or having side conversations.
Decisions. We make decisions based on what is best for all students of Stapleton Public Schools, using current data, considering the impact on staff, and following all legalities.
Expectations. We collaborate to do great things for students. We avoid negativity, but encourage dissension and constructive criticism without repercussion. We value different opinions and trust that everyone is working for the best interests of students.
Confidentiality. In order to freely discuss what we need to discuss, we keep what occurs during executive session confidential.
Time. We agree to come prepared by reading the packet before the board meeting and for administrators to share only highlights during their reports, utilizing a timekeeper and timed agenda in order to have effective meetings.
Participation. We invite input from all. We agree to be respectful of everyone's thoughts and ideas. We will articulate clearly, concisely, on topic, and loudly enough so all can be heard.
Do you have any board development?
I think everybody was fairly busy this last go around, and I didn't necessarily bother them. I was gone for a few days. But bookkeeper and I had a little development go on, and we'll talk about that later. That's about it. I'll talk to some of you individually.
No. Absent board members? Do I have an approval of the agenda?
That makes the most approved agenda is presented.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Yes. Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Publication of notice.
Everywhere as usual.
We have no visitors, so we don't have any comments at this time. Old business, approval of prior minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I would second that motion.
Any discussion? Kim?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Rex?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Yes. Approval of claims.
I went through the bills and everything looks to be in order, unless I missed something that you guys thought. But with that, I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Rex?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Yes. Rich?
Yes.
Treasurer's report.
Okay. Month of June. Let's see what we have in checking. Super now. A little more than usual. We'll probably be able to reinvest some of that, possibly. Incidental. The money market. And CD that we've taken money from here recently. Down, but we're going to replenish some of that in the near future. Receipts. All three counties have given us some receipts this month. And as you can see, looks better than it did a year ago at this time. For what we took in. Expenses. Total was a little bit under a year ago at this time. Total cash. A bit over what we were a year ago. Special building. It's increasing. Appreciation. Increasing as well. Qualified cap staying the same. Employee benefits. We're gonna probably,
And a motion is on the action item.
right, be an action item and we'll take care of what's left there. Hot lunch. Solid. Even with a good start for next fall in the freezer. And the activity. More on that account than we had a year ago. Interest-bearing accounts. It's paid quarterly, so we're still a month away of getting anything there. You can see what we have in that activity account. Appreciation. Various accounts, we have that much money sitting in. Employee benefit. In general. Hot lunch. Got that CD at this point in time. Special building. Any question on any of those?
Why does the employee benefit show 96? Well, on the back page, 9633, and on the front page shows 11139. Is there, does that need to be added together?
Yeah, it's part is checking, part of it's a CD.
Okay.
So the total is the 11,139.
Okay.
The CD is just the 9,000.
I'll probably move some more cash when I move it to this. I'll get as much benefit as I can. General. Expenditures, you got your hot lunch expenditures there. Any questions on what you see there? Kind of wrapping up the year. Activity expenditures through May. Any questions on that? Have your incidental account. On the May activity, even though our bottom line looks pretty good, wrestling fund balance is in the red. Speech, and let's make sure I'm on the right line here. Concession stand. we probably have in storage what that amount comes to there. And, so when we start the new year, we'll have some soft drinks and candies and other supplies that fit into that category, so. If we could have cashed all that out, we'd probably be, even with the board, as I can see at this point in time. Speech One Act Fund is in the red. Quiz Bowl fund balance. All girls basketball camp fund is it's down 225. Rest of them there are positive. Business manager and I visited today about a couple of these accounts, some of the improvements, some of the supplies we may need to start the new year. We may pull out of a couple of these that have been sitting there without any movement for some time, which would all be legal to do, rather than pull from the general. Questions?
For the community liaison report.
I don't.
I did not receive anything from them.
I think we're geared up. I'm gonna have put on our website tomorrow what we hope to sell this Saturday. I'm gonna run an ad in the paper that'll come out Wednesday stating some of the items that we have and hopefully generate some interest in what they may be. I didn't list everything, but didn't want it to cost us a whole lot to run that ad. But that'll be the same thing that will go on our website and Facebook page. Some of that we talked about last month, and I think I may have sent you an email as well. That's more bus tires out there, because I've just got trucks and I want something put on the trailer. Lots of garden hose if you want a rainy day project, put some new ones on, patch them up maybe here and there, but they might possibly leak. We got some nice big motors. We saved everything that came out of boiler rooms. There's a lot of life left in 2 of the 3. And I did some pricing over the weekend. That one you couldn't buy for $500 if you tried. The others, at least $250. What I may or may not get here could depend on if I want to barter or not after I set a price. If not, I plan on bringing Henry Nuxel over and we'll put them on big iron. Or if you guys have a preference where we could possibly sell those online, we'll give that a shot. We also have a valve that Louis informed me was relatively new. I think the year you guys abandoned that system. With the proper identification, there might be somebody that would maybe want to take that on. Okay, that's probably what our community has been trying to gear up for. Sounds like we could have a rainy day Saturday as well.
We have an activities director's report.
Not a big one. Just summer activities have been going on with all the athletics. I know football, I just got back from Shattern, and I went over and watched the boys play basketball in Arnold one night for their stuff going on over there. Things are underway, sounds like. The high school retreat that we had planned didn't go through due to weather, but that's gonna be rescheduled. Hopefully, I'm just waiting to hear back from coaches. And then the junior high is still scheduled for the day trip at August 3rd. The community garage sale is happening June 22nd, what Mr. Gaffney was talking about, and the paper called me and is doing a scavenger hunt with our new logo at all the sales to get some interest and then also get people familiar with the new logo. And then I got approval from the bank to help out with some wall mats, so I'm in the process of pricing out some of those to get those ordered for our gym.
Do you recall what kind of money they wanted to contribute?
About 3,000, which is about twice what I asked, so that was nice.
You'll start higher then.
Next time.
Live and learn.
Do we have any board committee reports? Okay, new business, discussion items, update on athletic co-op with McPherson County.
We haven't had a meeting since the last.
Can I add that I talked about the app last meeting. I downloaded it on my phone. It is pretty handy. It might take some getting used to, but it is up and running. So if you go to McPherson's website and where their app is, you can download the Mavericks app directly to your phone, which, well, you'll be able to navigate it. It's pretty neat, all the things that you can access, but it also has a live feed, kind of like Facebook, where just the administrative rights can post to it so that like I could take pictures of events happening and upload it right there right away. That will send out notifications, etc. So
All right, we'll move on to action items. Discuss and take appropriate action on employment contract of certified staff.
We do have a music teacher hired. And we were hoping to have a contract ready for you people to sign tonight. Gentleman's name is David Thielen. Okay, the gentleman started his career here. And thanks to one of the board members that put his name in my left ear, and I made contact, and he was maybe surprised that he was asked, but he said, well, he says, I've been retired for 3 years. He finished up at Mullen, and so I did visit with that Mullen superintendent that was there at the time, and he said, the gentleman did a good job while he was there. And that's pretty fair classroom management, and that's part of it all with that particular job. And so I said, could you possibly come up for an interview? And he said, well, he said, I haven't updated my resume and all that good paperwork and stuff. And I said, well, you just come up, you know. And we did. I had Mrs. Walker here, and we spent about an hour with him, took him out to lunch. I offered him a contract, and he said, well, he said, I've got a wife involved, and he said, I'll have to visit with her. And we also had a little vacation plan for this coming fall. And I said, we might be able to work with that. And then he called me up and he said, well, can we or can we not work with that? And I said, well, you have a 15-day use it as you see fit type of benefit. And he said, well, he said, I don't need that many days. But he was supposed to have everything to us last week. He can't find his certificate. And, one of the college hasn't sent everything yet to us, but we have a handshake, and so I think it's pretty much a done deal. Some of you may know him. It's his old school. It comes to that sort of an agreement. We'll keep it going. So hopefully by the week's end or the first part of next, we'll have something for people to sign. Okay. I feel very comfortable with the decision we have made. This Walker is too.
Do we need to table that then?
I don't think we need to do anything with it, do we? Do we?
You need to approve the
Oh, approve.
hiring.
Oh, okay, well, because I didn't know if we had a contract, if it was.
It hasn't been signed yet, but you.
Okay, okay.
approved the-
I'll make that motion. Since he's my past teacher.
I'll second it. Do we have any more discussion? Rex?
Yes.
Yes. Steve?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on preschool mileage reimbursement.
Okay, I learned last spring at one of the gatherings we had in North Platte with some attorneys. I believe Mr. Schaefer was with me that night. We don't have to reimburse anybody as a preschooler for mileage. And I have in your packet state statute. And so when I visited with our own attorney concerning this late last spring, he said, well, Howard, if you started it, he said, you might want to finish out the year in good faith. I said, make sure your people are aware of this. I apologize, I wasn't my first experience with preschool to begin with. There's, I think, an article in Sunday's paper dealing with the research that's been done on preschool. So you're on the right track with what you're getting done according to a lot of information that's been compiled throughout this country about how well prepared kids are as they go on through grade school. They started with the preschool program. That helps soften any blows. So it's up to you whether or not. It only really affects the one family at this point in time.
So if you don't do the mileage, does that mean you go in and get the kid? No?
We can pick them up closest point going by, just like you would non-public school child. Okay, one moment to do that.
So what do we need for a motion?
And I would advocate that we go off the highway like we were doing last year, going about, what is it, a mile?
No, not quite.
Not quite a mile, just for safety's sake. Say we'll turn around there for the most part.
Oh, last year, when I happened to follow her home, to follow the bus, they did it actually right at the highway. They exchanged her right at the highway. But there is room to pull off, just across the auto gate, they pull off onto the county road. They're not actually on the highway. So that works well.
Do you need any action on that?
Well, I just need to probably follow the statute. I'm
So
gonna
do we need a motion to follow the
You
statute?
know,
or not?
I don't think it would hurt a thing because of the way we've handled it in the past.
That way,
I'll make a motion that we follow the state statute on all future preschool transportation.
That word. Thank you.
I'll second it.
any more discussion? Rex, oh no, Kim, sorry. Yes, Rex.
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
yes, Steve,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on activities director job description.
Okay, you all have a copy of what has been arrived at. It's still got quite a little bit in there, but each and every one of those items will probably be touched on sometime throughout a school activity year. And if and when you do make a change in this position, this would be something that the person that would follow in the footsteps of the present one, if that should ever open up in the near future, 20 years down the road or whatever, this could be looked at and worked with. And it's designed to work with the co-op agreement we have in place. The wording of some of the comments.
Kara, are you comfortable with this agreement?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, yeah, I just combined the two that we talked about and
How many people have read all this?
I've been through most of it.
I haven't, I just highlighted.
Because I mean, we just got it tonight is the only thing. And I have.
I was out of town.
Well, you can take, I would advocate that maybe you table it for a month. If there's something in there that, oh, I think that's totally unnecessary, we can drop that off. I'm
Okay, that's
agreeable
what I
with
was
that, and I think our AD as well.
I have this.
So I can make a motion that we table the activities director job description until we get a chance to look at it.
Second.
Any more discussion? Frank,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
yes. Discuss and take appropriate action on Spiffy cleaner contract.
My comment is there in writing. Had a chance to look at it. Asked me to do my research. Gina and I have visited at length. And as near as we can tell, going back to that 07 contract. It looks like he's received everything that he had coming in those various contracts. Now, the present contract he's working on, like today, he'll receive his first check this month. He'll receive his last check for this contractual year in May 2020. And if he decides he cares to work again and you want to work with him, the contract will start up again to the 1st of June. That's all the information we had. I visited with Louis a couple different times and he's anything that's come up differently since we visited last. You can, as he pointed out to me, he just assumed this becomes some sort of a decision. And work with it and move on. He can't seem to come up with anything that differs from what we've got on paper. And that one particular year, we have 2 checks written in one line. As far as we can work with figures, he got the money he was asking for.
And I did contact the attorney just so I was on the same page. Going back, I did talk to Gina also. I came in and I wanted to make sure that Louis had been paid since I was on the board, exactly what the contracts were supposed to have, and that he's paid for all of his months. And she assured me that he was. When I talked to the attorney, he said that it's however we want to come up with an agreement. He says nobody knows what took place at that contract or that date. He said the statute of limitations has run out a couple times over from that period of time to now. So he said, moving forward, he feels that we should probably have an agreement that says that we are where we are and move on. So everybody's in agreement with what's transpired. So it's up to whatever you feel.
I make the motion that we agree that Louis has been paid and we will just continue on with the contract as we have now.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Kim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Yes. Rex?
Yes.
Rich?
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on closing employee benefit account.
The business manager, why don't you take over on that?
So we have the 11,000. We no longer need the employee benefit. Everybody's been paid that was on that early retirement. And I have checked with the auditors and they say that all we need to do is close that account and the money, the balance that's in it just goes into the general account. It's absorbed as a transfer.
Do we need a motion for that or?
Just that you're gonna close that account and
Okay.
it will go into it will go into the general money market account. Just the account it will go back into.
Will we close that CD also?
Yes. And it'll absorb into the general, and if we have extra, we'll put it into that CD that only has 10,000 in it right now, so.
The last person that was using that, if they come back, that doesn't start up again. Whatever that agreement was the last time, that was the end of it.
Unless you want to reactivate it.
No, I didn't.
It would take an act of the board to do that.
No, I was just curious.
I'll make that motion to close out the account and the CD.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? Rex?
Yes.
Yes. Rich?
Yes.
Frank?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on payroll for co-op coaches.
Okay. Chime in anytime, business manager. We decided, or the co-op committees in both districts decided that they would be paid off of Trion's activity.
Thanks.
And so it will go down that way, and we'll budget accordingly. And how we've been doing it is giving them half at the beginning of that particular activity period, and the final amount at the end, once, if need be, all of the materials, uniforms, basketballs, footballs, whatever, are accounted for with a description for insurance purposes and to know what we have and don't have or need to have replaced. It'd be that coach's job. And until that is handed over to the AD or possibly myself if I'm the one available at the time, this dispatcher will not be given permission to issue that check. That way we should have better accountability and whatever area they're responsible for is cleaned up as well and presentable. Been some issues with that in the past. I think we should eliminate. Anything you want to add to that, AD?
Yeah, I don't know what we're asking for action on payroll for the co-op coaches. We already decided we were paying off trials.
But it was stated that we would pay all the coaches from Stapleton, then they would reimburse us. There's a problem with like retirement and all of that. They would have to fill out payroll forms for me to pay them. And so I made up the assignment sheet. This year it's very equal. We had talked to Mr. Jepson and Luke about Stapleton paying Stapleton's coaches, McPherson County paying McPherson County's coaches. The difference, because you pay a match on retirement of 101%, you pay a match on Social Security. And that is figured in. Two of their coaches do not receive retirement because they're not a school employee. So it doesn't pertain to them. But I just think when we talked, it would be so much cleaner if we just paid our own coaches. And then the difference, whichever has paid less, then that difference, half of it would be paid to the other district. And it's going to be so much cleaner with retirement.
A whole lot cleaner. And I don't think we're looking to get ourselves in any sort of a pickle by maybe not looking at that type of agreement.
I called Callaway. This is the way they do it with Arnold. Right now, they try to balance it, a head coach, back forth. But they do have one, Arnold has one extra assistant, or one extra track coach. And this is what they do. They just keep track of it, and the difference is paid back to reimbursed Arnold at the end of the school year. It saves them having to have payroll forms filled out for that school.
Will that be a hiccup passing by them?
I didn't think so, but I think it's something that we will have to look at each year. Because when should the coaching assignments change, always something that will have to be addressed year to year.
On the difference.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, to see,
Or-
say we ended up with 80% of the coaches were at Stapleton, or 80% were McPherson County employees. And at that point, it will have to be readdressed. I think it's something we need to address every year. But I think McPherson
Or if
County.
you have somebody off the street that wasn't technically either place.
Yeah, that's,
The only thing, that would be the retirement. The thing, I think what it is when you employed somebody, they're employed at that school,
Yeah.
well,
And-
for instance, you look at Mr. Connell, he's not actually employed at. or-
but he
or
doesn't get
Mark
any
Levitt.
retirement. So
Right, so, so those are maybe somewhat, in the future, those maybe have to change the school that's paying them, depending upon the,
To maybe balance it out.
to make it balance.
And we've also discussed this with Zion Superintendent and Business Manager. They were at the same meeting we were at last week. Maybe we should have this co-op fund.
Now, let's wait to talk about that.
So now we're still on the,
That was, right, but that was brought up and as part of what this would be put through.
I'll make the motion to approve the coaching payroll for this year.
As us paying them separately, or I don't
Paying them separately and then adjusting the balance. at the end.
know. Okay.
is that something that you need to go back to your committee with?
They also were going to have it on their action items
Okay.
at their board meeting Thursday. I called the paper to get the minutes just to see how they worded it, and they did not have them yet, and I did not call Tryon to get the minutes.
When
for
we
it.
first talked about it, we basically talked about doing this, each to pay their own, and then if there was a separate thing at the end, then whoever owes money to someone.
So they should agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't want to do
We
something.
believe it will
that
be
was gonna-
acceptable to the other.
Good, this pressure on you guys.
Yeah. Better get into like it.
Do we need a second for that?
Yeah.
I would make that.
Okay, any more discussion? Sorry, we jumped on that one. Okay, Kim,
Yes,
Rich,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Steve,
Yeah.
yes, and Brooks.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on co-op activity account.
I'm gonna jump right out there. We are all adamantly against this,
So are they.
and so are they.
And why?
Because there's some hiccups if you look at maybe having to get a separate ID number, and we've seen,
Then they wanna know, like if you had an account, say it was a co-op account, who's in charge of it? You have to have a signature from somebody from each school. Or-
Separate tax ID number.
We had it the last time.
I was gonna say, we didn't have any problems with the
There
last one.
was no tax ID number, and whichever school was writing the check, they had checks, we had checks out of the same account, and so they would sign theirs, we'd sign ours, and it just all came into one account.
What about W-4s? Does everybody have to file?
Yes. For like a 1099, you mean, if somebody's been but they're paying, I don't know that you would have very much of that because they're paying their reps, right?
Right, their activity.
For any activities they have.
At
Before-
their school, right? But we pay them at
what we're
ours.
seeing with ours.
So what would be in that activities account? What would be going in and out of it?
Well, today, I wrote one check last week or 2 weeks ago for $970 for Coach's Clinic, because we were supposed to pay for all of it. They were gonna reimburse us. That came out of general. Then today, I wrote, whatever the difference is, probably $2,800 close to, in a bunch of checks for supplies and that. If we had the co-op account, it would all come out of that co-op account and be paid. When we did it before, we put in so much money, McPherson County put in so much money, and they got a report, because it's one account. Right now, I paid out of general, I paid out of activity. It's cleaner and it's more transparent for people to look at. For us to go, so now what I did is I made copies of all the invoices. I am mailing it, or I emailed it, I scanned it and emailed it to Tryon. So when it comes back, we'll have to divide it, make sure the right amount goes into general, the right amount goes into activity. So if we had just one account, you'd only have to run a report and show them that one account.
Your activity account.
It's like our
Co-op account.
activity, but it'd be a whole separate account, and it's called co-op activity, and it
But they're all
worked.
activities, so how come they can't go through the activity account? Now,
The activity account covers, like, there's a whole list of different activities. Like
And a lot of,
that,
of course, a lot
right
of that
here, that's
money
what
was just
this,
raised by
that's
our
what paper
kids.
was.
Well, yeah, but if she's taking it out of.
If I run that report, it's gonna be our expenses plus the shared co-op expenses out of there. So they're gonna see the whole report, whereas.
So say you go to a basketball camp and it's supposed to, so you're still gonna have to divvy up what goes back to where. You're still gonna have to take it out of the activity account, put it in the co-op account, and take it back. I mean, it seems like
Last time they put 10,000 in, we put 10,000 into that account, so you had 20,000 to begin with, and everything that was divided, that was shared, was just paid out of there.
and so what if you say, oh, I think you paid for something out of that account, you shouldn't have paid out of that account. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I feel like you end up with these finger point things. Well, you shouldn't have paid for that. Are you sure you should have paid for that?
Then it would have to be transferred out of there into, or that person, I guess it'd have to be reimbursed. But right now, okay, if I pay something out of football that's our expense, and I pay something out of football that's a shared expense, they're gonna see the whole report. And really, I don't think that you want them seeing, I mean, it should be just the co-op report. It's more transparent and cleaner.
Is that what Arnold and those guys do? Yeah.
I did not ask them on that one.
That's
They have a
That's
shared-
what Rush told me.
They have a shared account that Kelly Walsh, she's in charge, their AD, is in charge of writing all the checks to all of officials, no matter where they're at, out of that one account. It's an added responsibility to the AD.
That was one thing, in the last co-op, we didn't have a problem. Was that account? Nothing at all.
We handled it here, but they had checks and we had checks. If they wrote any at the end of the month, they would email me their invoices and what check number they wrote. I put it into the computer. And it worked really good.
I guess I couldn't. When we went into it, I thought we were paying for the majority of it, and that's why we got it our way and got most of it over here. I don't know how you give them access to it.
I know there's a lot of expenses coming out, especially for this upcoming year.
That are shared?
So yeah, because at the last meeting, any of the new equipment or supplies, for instance, we had to order new volleyballs or, the little things with decals, for the helmets or, whatnot, those extra things that they wanted were, they said that they wanted to split equally. They said any new supplies or anything like that, like we needed more volleyballs, so, I mean, they're $50 a piece,
As far as the uniforms and stuff, it's all our deal.
But that wouldn't go through that account.
That wouldn't go through that account
It
then.
would go through, anything that just we pay stays in our activities. Anything that's split,
Like track season and we pay our starter certain amount like we do in officials, but we also have to buy a box of shells for the gun. That would be split.
and all entry fees.
And all entry fees would be split.
I guess to me, it almost looks like less paperwork than to have to tell them what they, what they owe you and then separate it back out, but that's. Is that something that needs to go back to your committee?
So talking about Halloween.
July.
Next one's July 30th at 1 o'clock here.
That's the next scheduled one.
Yeah, that's next.
You can always add one in there. Got a lot of
I
time.
always have another special meeting. If it rains.
I just think when you go to do a report, let's say you get to the end of the school year and you want to run a report for the whole year, and it would be divided out in that co-op account. You'd have your football, you'd have your volleyball, so you could keep it all separate. But when you go to run that report and you can list everything and know that everything in there was split half and half. If I go to run a report and we don't do that and I've paid for it out of our activity account and then tried to show that they reimbursed us, you're gonna have a lot more detail in there of all of our stuff, plus trying to pick out what was theirs to see if they reimbursed or not.
But they haven't agreed to split it 50/50 every day.
Just all the new supplies, that's what was decided at the last meeting.
But that's the only thing that would come out of that account, whatever is split 50/50,
Yeah,
otherwise.
the only
It
one was
would
taken
come
out.
out.
Without it, see, hey, this wasn't supposed to be 50/50. Switch it back, the way it's supposed to be.
I think they need to take it back to their committee.
Oh, yeah.
Miss it again, and if you come back, no.
I wish I'd have had their minutes to see how because they acted on everything, I think, last Thursday.
I don't think they took care of that.
They didn't do that one.
No.
Luke was the one that was here that day. They had their basketball game.
You could be wrong, but to just tag out, we need to have a meeting.
I'd make a motion to table the action on the co-op activity account.
I'll second it.
Any more discussions? Rich,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
yes, Steve,
Yes,
Kim? Yes. Frank?
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on grass removal.
Okay, you have an estimate from that landscaping company that did the work at the courthouse last year and is doing the work that they want done this year. Visit with him. The east side of the sidewalk that comes up to the school has got a lot of elevation to it over the top of the sidewalk, and it'd be nice if that was lowered. So I had the gentleman come up and look it over. He said we need to we're not going to tear up that whole strip by any means, but we'll probably start at the sidewalk and go back 10 to 15 feet. He's kind of got it sketched out there a little bit for you. We would do the north side and a little bit on the west side of that east block. And then the corner on the west side of the main sidewalk, that needs to be addressed, cleaned up a little bit, so on and so forth. The rest of it could probably be put off for another time. But the price he shot there was to remove the sod, and we take it right across the road and place it in those bare spots that are there. We're not going to waste anything, and replace it with new sod. And that amount of money. It should be, as far as I'm concerned, a beautification project.
ever get anywhere on going a little bit further while you're doing it and putting sprinklers in?
Well, I'm sure he would, but I didn't want to get too carried away. Louis would like to see us maybe go with a sprinkler system on probably that part of it, let alone everything else that we have as well. It's time consuming to do it the way we do it, and it's probably not very water efficient, even though Louis keeps his sprinklers on a timer. Still in all, moving it around and hitting everything with something like that isn't always the most efficient way to do it. That would be a start. And as far as I'm concerned, when I first interviewed with you people, I picked up on your front yard. Some of you that probably go up and down that sidewalk often don't necessarily see what maybe a stranger does right off the get-go. Once again, there's a lot of places we could spend money in this district, this campus. That would be a start. And I think snow removal would be easier to kind of figure out where that edge of that sidewalk is before you run into the sod.
So will he drop it down below
Yeah.
cement level, like 3 inches or
Right, and
so?
then we'll just slope it back. And I believe he's also measured off, like this is that east block. We're gonna do the north, we're gonna do partway up on the west side of that block. And then as far as we need to go on the east side as well, on that one side. Right now, we've got, the sod is elevated above the sidewalk, and it's all but impossible to clear the snow with what we have in the front end of the loader or the blade that we normally pull behind it. So Louis done the best he could with what we had to work with there. But it would be nice to drop that on that long strip there for the length of that sidewalk as well. The rest of it on the east side of the building is okay.
Well, I just think it takes a lot of dirt taken out of it.
Well, yeah, it does. It builds up over the year. It's probably never been touched.
I think you're still gonna end up with it, just moving our problem out.
Oh, you think the whole thing needs rolled up?
I just wonder at this point, after spending money to the tree out,
Did you get that quoted at all? To just take the whole,
have it regraded.
But he's got to come back and do some more work. I can visit with him on the phone. Ambitious character. Does good work.
Did he think this would do what we needed done, or?
Yeah, he said that would really improve it. And he said, I would make sure that the drop off isn't necessarily super obvious. It's gonna be a, well,
Is it gonna round or not? Because if it's gonna be a point to it, and if you hit that at a certain angle with the mower, it's gonna shave it.
we can't have a point.
Yes.
How high are we on along the building?
Not too bad.
Not too
Right
bad.
along. Just that corner that kind of needs cleaned up on this side at this point in time. I was really expecting for no more than what I asked him to do. I thought maybe we'd be more like grand or two higher than that. But I called him up again the next morning and I said, "Are you sure?" Oh yeah, he said, "I can make that work."
I just seen that needs attention too. That's me.
But,
I just seen that needs attention too.
that's new.
It is.
Ain't that old?
We could do some work more towards the school. We
Yeah.
always tried to do some patching there, but
Yeah, some of
but we
that.
need to have that one corner cut out like the gentleman that worked on us last year could possibly do. Catch it with the blade, and there's been a foot or two, catch it as well if they don't pick their foot up. But, no, we're not too many years down the road, you're gonna have to do some cement work for sure. Now, if we get into that with what he measured out, and it really doesn't look like it's gonna do what you pointed out, we might have to have a little flexibility there. I'm sure he said, I'll work with you.
What is it? Was it from the sidewalk to the, over by the parking deal? 30 feet, 40 feet?
That's not above the sidewalk yet, is it, really?
Where's that at?
Right along the building going east.
No, I'm talking from the sidewalk to the, I know what's the worst part, is that it's that side over there, that sidewalk going
East-
to the
on the
north,
east
and
side.
then the other one, there's a big old hump up there. What I'm wondering is if you're only, I don't know, say, what's the gym? That's the measurement I need.
90 feet.
What would they do with the, I don't mean to interrupt, but what would they do with that tree over there? The roots are, I don't know if you showed him or not, but the
All around the,
roots are all above the ground. You don't have any grass at all there to mow, I mean, and you hit the surface roots. I don't know how deep we had one tree fall over out here and never had a tap root in it to go down deep. It just got 40 feet tall, and all of a sudden one day I come in and trees were leaning against the building, so I don't even know what that one's gonna do eventually. But all the roots are right on the surface.
In those situations, many times you put some decorative brick around there, out of ways, and you.
If you move that much dirt, though, I wonder if it'll topple over. Might do us a favor, I guess.
nothing more.
You can't do anything
Would it
about it,
be,
you can't cover them or anything.
Would it be cost effective just to clean that whole square out, tree and everything, and then have the Mr. Warner go back in with new sod and however you want it decorated? Put the money towards the re. So I could probably get that cleaned up and he could make it how he wants to. I just donate that, it wouldn't take too long.
No, I didn't suggest that.
I just want it right if we're gonna spend money. It would take long to clean that out.
Sprinklers might be more expensive than you think. Couldn't think it.
Well, they put them in with your sod in, I mean, they just pile them in.
I was gonna say, it's better to do it when the sod's not on there.
But that's what
anyway.
I'm saying, if you're gonna go to one.
Whenever I've had them put in, they just put them in, and like when Richard puts them in, they just put them in through your sod.
Right, but if they
Drag
were
them in.
cleaning that off, I was just saying that they were cleaning it off.
I don't know, I've never seen it done.
That's
Very
If you wanted to transfer your sod, you
They
could
put sod in
get
it.
some high school kids and a sod cutter and take that off wherever you want, and the guy could just get anybody's attention.
That would be the neatest way to do that, rather than have him drop his blade down and scrape it. Because it would work well across the road in that spot that we can't seem to get anything to go. We really do need a hydrant put in there too, so we can properly water that corner. Rather than really having to irrigate the sign. Have some people upset that we're getting all those electronics wet, but whatever.
I'm kind of like Aaron, it's what everybody sees, but I noticed coming up tonight that the football field looks nice. I also noticed when it don't. I think the school looks a lot better without that tree by the door, but without grass missing there, it looked like cows come up and rub against the side of the building or something.
You're thinking just strip it down from the sidewalk east
Yeah,
for
however
this
much,
year, do us a section of it, put everything new back in.
you could go that east square, every just clean it out, however much you want, and then put it back how you want it.
The only problem with that is, what do we have underneath that thing for good soil? Is it just
Yeah.
fill?
You get blow sand.
That's what I was gonna say.
But if
That's
you
the
buy
problem.
sod to put back in it, it'll have, my yard's just white clay and you put sod over it and it grows great.
Or if you do like a sitting area, like wood chip instead or something.
So however you want it.
Might be
No,
the
I'm-
thing to price doing just a square this year.
Take the tree out? Or is there more than one tree
There's
there?
2 trees there. There's one there and then that
There's one close to it.
goofy looking one that's out in the middle of
Sleeping trees.
You like the tree or you don't like the tree?
I do. It's just it's a maple, and maple trees, the roots come to the top.
Right, that's-
I think
And
Nina
that's
said
how
she's
they
got a
grew-
trees page and she'd like to have it.
No, Matt's got a tree stand.
That has a tree space.
Okay, so do we have a motion on this?
I don't know, sounds different than what's in front.
That's exactly it.
I'm gonna need a little leeway there.
Yeah.
So do we want to make a motion to take out the grass on the east side?
Do we want to make a,
I don't know what that's gonna cost.
is that what this whole thing was this side?
And I've had a
one little
couple-
square, or that's right.
If I can interject this, I've had a couple people visit with me and they said, if you want to do something with that front yard, we might be able to look at some money. And that's sure would be taxpayer money. Donation. I don't mind visiting with those type of people.
So should we table it? and See what we,
I doubt if we're gonna maybe be able to get to this much sooner than maybe the next board meeting.
I don't know where the closest sod is.
Doesn't Jorgensen's have it? No spot?
You didn't say where he gets his sod.
About the only place to get sod is in Fort Morgan, and that's where he gets most of it.
Okay.
Jorgensen's doesn't do it. I thought they had a sod farm.
There's limited supply, so it's tough to get, so most of his sod comes in.
So the one I knew was in Fort Morgan, no, one down by Omaha.
Yeah, but they closed Grand Island, they closed, Roscoe, they closed. Yeah, so you gotta go at least 4 hours to get sod most times.
It's big
And if
business.
you had
anymore.
and if you had a sprinkler
That is
system, you
a
could
lot of
seed it,
intensive
then
work.
you'd have a lot.
No, he's old.
Have you seen how us farmers have gone along this year? We could grow grass. It all floated down the corner.
I planted grass under my trees and it was awesome. It came up awesome.
Walmart, the cheapest seed you can get.
Yeah,
That spray, that green spray stuff they have.
It's
yeah,
amazing what that stuff does.
yeah, it is.
Doesn't work for your hair.
Or you can just get turf.
It's grass.
No.
That's gonna, yeah. Okay,
Okay,
so.
I make a motion, we table this till next meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any more discussion? Kim,
Yes.
Rich,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
yes, Steve,
Yes,
Frank.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on wall mats.
Turn that over to the AD. She's already spoke a little bit about it.
I didn't know we were taking action on it. I just, had been talking with the Booster Club and the bank and trying to figure out where we could find some financial backing for those, because they aren't cheap, but, they need replaced. So the
They
bank
have
has,
an approximate amount that they.
well, yeah, the bank said that they would, for the mats themselves. I left that up to Kira, was going to get some quotes in the short amount of time that I had to look at some online. They were gonna be a little about 2,500. I don't know what the install is and I haven't talked to anybody directly, but I do have some quotes coming from 2 other companies that I've been in touch with this week also. And since, we're not doing any custom logos or anything like that, we're just doing solid colors, it would be cheaper.
Have all that installed.
Yeah. I
So
think
is
we
it
can, I think we can do it with the 3,000.
So we don't need to do anything.
No. You can take care of the rest. If it's a few hundred over. or whatever.
And again, I don't know what the install would be, or if we could have our people do it here.
Rainy day, we could probably get that put up. Good one, guys.
I don't have anything else to do.
It's,
I'm helping Rich with the dirt.
You guys want to do that on a rainy day?
But they were longer, like, I know they were closer to the floor, but
So,
did you
yeah,
go
we would,
longer?
yeah, we're looking to cover more area on that wall because we've had some kids injured with head injuries at the base. There's a gap at the bottom, so they would be taller and then they would still be 2-foot panels. We would just add panels.
I don't know, to me, that sounds cheap for that kind of thing.
I think helmets was cheaper.
Helmets?
Yeah.
They were cheaper?
don't go there with it.
I mean, unless we want to go with like really high 5-inch quality, which I don't think we need. You can get all different kinds at different sizes and shapes and.
Once again, I'm opposed to getting on the phone if need be.
So the donation is gonna pretty well cover what we have.
I think it can, yes. I think we can outfit both walls with what we want at a 2-inch mat, kind of like what was already up there. For that, and all they want is their logo on it. Like, right now we have a sticker on the top right-hand corner, but I think we could do that even better with
Yeah,
a
that
die
logo.
cut and vinyl,
I guess I'd make a motion to approve the purchase of wall mats, I guess.
Use donation funds to take care of it.
Majority.
Majority. Sorry, I was
Give me some leeway.
I don't know if they weren't your words. I know they weren't.
That's what I meant.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Since I was instrumental in helping.
Any more discussion? Rich,
Yes.
Rex,
Yes.
yes, Steve,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Frank.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on lunch prices.
Okay. You have in my report what I would like to see done. This is because I would like to do that. I was addressed when we had our audit this spring. I haven't done anything for 2 years. Well, we haven't needed to. That's beside the point. And so, yeah, even though our account is in great shape, we could lose federal reimbursement without upping it a little bit. So we looked at a nickel and a dime.
That'll keep us in compliance. And who was the audit done by? Is it Tom Nyhart?
No, this is the state.
State,
audit.
okay, that's what I was wondering.
No.
And she spent time with Mrs. Harvey and myself and Sandy, and we need to raise that. And we could spend some money. We're probably getting off close to needing a new milk cooler. That one has been so good to you people for so long, but it needs it's not very efficient for sure. And it's got a few air leaks, but the cooling part of it is really, really good. And it could stand to be repainted, if nothing else. It's pretty scarred up, but that's one thing we could probably update. And even though the counter is pretty antiquated, we have always passed inspection with what we have, but that's something that we might want to look at another year down the road possibly. Either stainless steel or some of that new magic material they have out that cleans up real well. Doesn't necessarily chip. Got a couple chips in this. I can't believe they haven't brought that to our attention to make sure it's repaired.
I'll
I didn't
make a-
want to,
I was gonna make a motion that we raise the price of the elementary lunches 5 cents and the junior high lunches 10 cents.
I'll second that. And adults.
And adults.
adults.
Correct, yes, that's what I said.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Frank,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
yes, Rex,
Yes.
and Rich.
Yes.
Discuss and take appropriate action on board policy 6213, instruction, reading instruction and improvement.
This paper that you have in your folder will keep us in compliance. So probably should have been enacted a year ago.
I'll make that motion to become in compliance. Reading instruction and improvement.
I'll second it. Any more discussion? Rex,
Yes.
yes. Steve,
Yes.
Kim,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Rich.
Yes.
Reports, superintendent.
Okay, some things I want to add to this. I was at a conference there in Kearney Friday. Mrs. Walker and I were both there. A number of different lawyers visited with us concerning certain issues. I get this phone call from Ms. Harvey. She just happened to come in to pick up some stuff, and the phone was ringing. She answered it. It's AT&T. And they reported that unless we had somebody making calls from a phone in our building from 1:15 or 1:20 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the morning, our phone line had been compromised. It was reported to us that all of those calls were made to various locations in Africa. Most of them were 8 to 10 minutes in length. So they froze any international calls and they caught it. Long story short, when I visited with the gentleman that set up our new phone system, not much more than a year ago, if even that, I said, didn't we have the latest spyware? At that time we did. It has been improved. How did they get on to us? Come to find out, it's my number and the guidance counselor's number.
Distance learning. Distance learning.
Distant learning. Okay, and as Corey explained it to me, what they have evidently done, and I've had only one call that was on my answering machine, that when I pulled it up, nobody was on the other end. And evidently, that's all it takes to get into us. And so I said, Corey, what can we do? He says, well, there's an updated software. It won't cost you anything. Put that into place. Normally, we would charge for that. But since you're a recent purchaser of a new system, I think I can, it's only going to take about an hour. But not only we re-compromised on that same day, but Perkins County, which isn't with this same phone company, was compromised. Tryon was compromised. in the Elgin school system. So somebody has time on their hands to get into those particular accounts and use. That's the story, basically, in a nutshell. Corey visited with you as well today. Is there anything else I didn't show about?
He had you and the distance learning change their passcodes.
Yeah.
So. he thought that
Change their
was-
passcode so they can't get in there. And mine was a 4-number code. All the teachers have a 4-number code. That way, when we get the phone bill, we can see who made what call.
Do we, as a school district, ever make international calls? So could we put a permanent, I have done that on my personal line, put a
Right.
permanent
And that's the way
international
it
line.
is right now. It's just, wow. So we need permission to remain something like that. And so I said, Corey, I said, are we or are we not responsible for that bill? He said, their fraud department is the one that discovered. Their fraud department discovers it, more than likely you will not be responsible. He said, if I need to put together something in a letter form to get to them too, I'll do that for you. Okay, any other questions of me on that? Okay, I think the contract with Mr. Thielen will hopefully be in place by the end of the week. If we touched on enough of that. Okay, a week ago, I think it was on the 8th, Saturday the 8th, we had an electrical storm here. It took out our circuit board, one small part of it. That was enough to set off the alarms. And even though we can get it back to normal for a period of time, whatever